From KCCB, Pontifical Mission Societies, join Capuchin TV on Saturday at 7 p.m. as we deliberate on Missionary Apostolate in Kenya. Here I am, send me. From Capuchin TV, we wish you a happy Mission Sunday.
Good evening and thank you very much for joining us on this live show right here on Around the Table. Today in studio I have missionaries, and today's subject of discussion is Missionary Apostolate in Kenya. We have Reverend Sister Joan. Kindly tell us what you do, please.
My name is Sister Joan Mukhwana. I'm a school sister of Notre. I work for the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops as a National Executive Secretary in the Commission for the Religious and Clergy Liaison Committee.
Welcome, Sister.
Thank you.
Father, please tell us about yourself.
Yes. Good evening, viewers. I'm called Father Njaya, a Comboni missionary, and I work with the Commission for Mission. I'm part of the Commission for Mission, and the work I do is the missionary animation work, whereby we animate the local church to sensitize it more on the missionary activity of the church today in Kenya.
Very much welcome to our studios, Father Teddy from the Comboni Missionaries. You can be part of this discussion by leaving your comment or question on our Facebook at Capuchin Television, YouTube and Twitter, Capuchin TV. Now off we start. Who is a missionary? Sister, I will start with you. Who is a missionary in our context?
In this context, I think a missionary is the one who is sent. I believe that by our baptism, every Christian is called to be a missionary. He's set on mission so that they can proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ wherever they are. And I think a missionary, the growing of understanding of a missionary has grown. So we are all missionaries. Yeah.
Father?
Yes, to pick up from what Sister said, every baptized person is a missionary. That is to participate in the three offices of priestly, kingly, and prophetic. And therefore, being a missionary, it implies that we have been called upon to witness the Christian life. And every baptized person, being a missionary, is called upon to witness the Christian life. And therefore, the purpose of being a missionary as such is actually to incarnate the good news of the gospel in the life, the culture of the people today.
So is it also some sort of a call, like a vocational call?
Yes, in fact, a missionary is a call. And therefore, being a call, it implies that it is also a vocation. Mm-hmm. And therefore, through baptism, we have been called to this missionary vocation. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you very much. And how important is the missionary activity in the church today?
The missionary activities is very important because the good news needs to go on. There are many people who need our witnessing. Because we witness by our very being, we also witness by our prayer and by our acts. So today, more than ever, the world needs missionaries. And therefore, the Christians, all of us as Christians, baptized Catholics, are called to be missionaries. And we can be missionary wherever we are, in our local parish, and in being sent, and also by supporting those who have gone outside, especially those in difficulty places in the world.
All right, Father, of what importance is a missionary activity?
Yeah, the missionary activity is important in the life of the church today because the proclamation of the good news is still ongoing, and therefore it is a process. Therefore, we need the missionaries to continue to proclaim the gospel to all parts of the world. And therefore, as I mentioned before, is to incarnate the gospel in the cultures of the people. Therefore, the gospel has to be an integral part of our life. And that is why we say that it is important today. And to be a missionary, you can say it involves 2 feet, yeah? Whereby we have to promote the human values. And that's why the sister, she's being involved in the apostolate of the school, for instance, in the charism of their congregation. That is the human promotion part of the missionary work. And also the spiritual dimension of the missionary work. So I feel that up to today, we need actually this missionary activity for the purpose of evangelization.
So it's in order to say that the church is missionary by nature?
Yes, in fact, the church exists in order to evangelize. So the church by its nature is missionary. So, and therefore, in this case, evangelization and mission, they go together. In fact, the mission is defined in terms of evangelization because the church exists, or the mission of the church is to evangelize.
Sister, what does it mean for Christians or the Christian faithfuls when we say that the church is missionary by nature? What should they glean from that?
I think Christians should believe that they themselves are missionary right where they are. Through their prayer, they support the mission work. They pray for missionaries, they pray for themselves, and they also send their contributions also to support those who have gone out. And the Christians also should understand that they too incarnate, as Father said, the good news by their daily activities. It's a daily activity. Always pray. In prayer, we listen to God's voice, and then we go out and become the good news that we have been called. So through prayer, through supporting mission work, through also evangelizing in many ways. I think we know that there are many ways of evangelizing. The Christians are on mission.
So, Father, how else can we actively engage the Christian faithfuls in the work of missions here in Kenya?
Yeah, there are various ways in which the lay faithful, the Christians, can be engaged in supporting the missionary activity of the church. One, we have the financial support. And the work I do, which goes together with the mission appeals, it is actually to ask the Christians so that they can support the missionaries who are from Kenya and they are working in different parts of the world. So maybe also to support those who are working within. And therefore, the Christians, even through the collections, like we are going to have the World Mission Sunday on 18th, and therefore the collection is to support also the missionary work. So as we can see, the financial support, the lay faithful, the Christians are fully involved so that they can support the missionary work. Also, to be updated with the missionary literature. Yeah, so we have the magazines like the Comboni missionaries, we publish the New People magazine. The Consolators, they publish the CD magazine, and also we have the liturgical diaries and the calendars. So in this case, they can be able to be updated about the missionary activity of the church. And also, could say that through the diaries that we have, yeah, so in that way, they are able to know the reality of the missionary work.
So how is this support distributed to different missionaries, considering that most of them are sent to far-flung places with very difficult situations?
Yes, whatever support we get from the Christians, usually at the end, unfortunately this year we had the corona and we could not move, let us say, to have the mission appeal in different parishes. But before, like last year, out of the generosity of the Christians, whatever we raised, we gave to our more than 26 religious congregations, including the Fidei Donum priests who are working within Kenya, because as you can see, maybe the Diocese of Lodwar needs priests, okay? So we have the priests from Eldoret who are working in Lodwar. We have also maybe the priest from Meru, but working in Malindi. So these are the hardship areas. So now how it is able to reach even those who are beyond Kenya, because we have different religious congregations, international congregations. Some are working in Sudan, like the sisters in Notre. We Combonis, we also work in different places. Consolata missionaries, these are international congregations. So how the support is able to reach that missionary who is working, let us say, in Zambia, in South Africa, Sudan, or Egypt, it is through the superior of the religious congregation identify that particular missionary, and then we are able to issue the support that we have collected from the Christians out of the mission appeals that have been made.
I would also like to add that the money that is collected for missionary work comes to many of our congregations. We are all beneficiaries of that. I remember as a young girl in my parish, there was a Mill Hill missionary priest who lived there and worked there among the people. And we used to wonder how he came to the remotest part of the world to be a mission. But he supported and built a church that the local people would never have built in my village. It's maybe 1 million, 20 million worthy church.
Wow.
So the money that is contributed is used to build churches. It's also used to form priests, to form their sisters, novices, so that they can become good evangelizing agents. And for us too, the church continues to support us to continue to work together and learn and get acquainted with what's happening in our world, so that we can become relevant agents of the gospel. So it goes a long way to support the church's activities, right from the churches and formation of evangelizing agents. So it's great support, and we urge the Christians, even in your tiniest village, you can still support a missionary out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to add a bit on the other aspect on how also the Christian faithful can support the work in the mission. We mentioned a bit earlier, prayer, which I feel is fundamental. Yes, it's very fundamental, because the missionary animation work is, okay, the material support, that's the mission appeal, is a consequence of mission animation. So we can see that the financial support comes in only as a consequence of when the faithful have understood the message. And therefore the aspect of prayer is fundamental. And therefore that's why even in this month of the Rosary, the Rosary, because we are praying the Rosary in this missionary month. So the Rosary, our Mother Mary being the star of evangelization, and that's why when you look at the missionary Rosary, we have the 5 colors. Yes, usually I work with one because it was made by our children there in Pokot. Yes, so as you can see, actually, with these colors, which represents actually the continents. So we have Africa, America, Europe, Australia, and then we have also Asia. So it means that is to go to the 5 continents and then proclaim the work of God. And therefore, the prayer is a fundamental aspect in the missionary work. And therefore, I feel that it is essential, even this month of the Rosary, as we pray for the 5 continents, because we have been called to go forth to the ends of the world.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there a standard protocol that lay faithfuls are required to follow in order to be a missionary?
No, there is no much a standard protocol, because as you know, being a missionary, every baptized person is a missionary. And therefore, to proclaim the work of God, I think when they are being involved already in their activities, let us say we have different pastoral groups in the parishes, CMA, CWA, so that is already the place where they begin to live the missionary spirit. So it right begins in the parishes, it goes to home, and then from there now parishes, then we have the homes, and then it can be able to reach now to the ends of the world. Yes, so therefore the protocol is to start from where you are, to live the missionary spirit where you are. If I am a teacher by profession, I exercise also within my profession, I exercise also the missionary aspect as a vocation. So I take my teaching not so much as a profession, but as a vocation. Then that is now the beginning of the living my missionary spirit.
All right, Sister What experiences can you share about your missionary apostolate, and how has it touched the lives and the apostolates of the missionaries, especially those who are living in very difficult areas?
I remember my experience as missionary. I worked in Ghana with street kids. It was going out of myself because I did not know the language. And because to reach the children, you have to be like them. And therefore I had to learn the language. I had to reach out to them, to help them know that I'm there to help them, because most of them had been on the street. The experience of being a missionary is openness. There's this saying that if you want to be a missionary, you always remove your shoes when you get to another culture, because where you stand is holy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you go to the other culture, you respect, and so you bring the gospel to this culture, knowing that the culture too is the people there. God was there before you went there, and respect their culture, their language, and then you can become the good news, witness to what it means to be a Christian or a messenger of good news. So for me, missionary work is, as Father said, is for everyone. I know there are also lay missionaries, and there's a movement of lay missionaries. And many of our Christians go out in the jumuiyas. They still go to preach to they go to visit the sick. They have a role in the jumuiya to take care of the hungry, and that's missionary work. And you look at what is my call, and it may be as simple as my mission is to give water to the thirsty, or my mission is to feed the hungry. So that's what I would say.
Father Njaya,
yes.
Could you please share with us your experience?
Yes, so myself, I've been working in the Catholic Diocese of Lodwar. Just after I went there as a seminarian, ordained as a deacon, and then for about 6 years I've been in the Catholic Diocese of Lodwar in Lokichar Parish. So I worked there for practically 6 years before coming to the Mission Animation Office here in Nairobi. And therefore the experience, it was positive and challenging as well. As you know, the experience in Lodwar, the heat, the roads, and even going for the celebration of the Mass in the outstations. One has to move, let us say, an outstation of 120 kilometers. This is the farthest outstation. Practically is the distance, let us say, from Nairobi to almost in Nakuru. But now this is an outstation. So sometimes I could drive on the road, maybe about 50 kilometers, I don't see anybody, and then I ask myself, Father Teddy, what are you doing here in the desert? Yeah. And reaching there, sometimes, you know, the experience there is different, because reaching there, I'm not sure if people are there or not. Yeah, because there is no communication as such. So in this case, it is the priest to wait for the people. So when they see you in the chapel there, they will call each other. Maybe you have to wait for 1 hour or 2 hours. They come, and then we do the celebration. And then after that, I go to another chapel. So in this case, you can see that there the reality is different. It is the priest to wait for the people and not the vice versa.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Then there's this aspect of culture shock. How do you go about that when you find yourself in such a community, a very new community that you don't know anything about, and you see their way of living and everything is totally different from what you're used to?
Yeah, the missionary life, we don't choose where we go, yeah, because mission is given. So I don't choose that I'm going to work in a specific place. So I'm sent. So when they send me, I will respond to that. And then the question of the language is also a challenge. And that is why missionaries, even when you look at the history of evangelization in Kenya, they had to learn the local language. Yeah, they had to learn the local language. And therefore, even the translations we have, I speak of the experience in Lodwar Diocese, the translations which we have, the liturgical books, they were made by the missionaries who came there in 1960s and then learned the language and then translated the Bible and other liturgical books into the local language. And this is how the gospel is being incarnated also in the lives of the people. And therefore, I see that the question of the language is fundamental, although it's a shock. So at the beginning, I had to learn. But before that, I was in Brazil, I had to learn Portuguese for 6 years, so that I was there. And then in Uganda also 2 years to learn Luganda language. I went to Turkana, was the same. So I have to, first of all, to dedicate, especially the first year, so that I can be able to learn the language. And then from there, what I could see the culture now from a different perspective. I realized that evangelization is not so much to change the people and the culture, but above all is to change myself.
Thank you very much. We are taking a very short break. We'll be right back with more on Around the Table. Stay tuned.
From KCCB, Pontifical Mission Societies, join Capuchin TV on Saturday at 7 p.m. as we deliberate on Missionary Apostolate in Kenya. Here I am, send me. From Capuchin TV, we wish you a happy Mission Sunday.
Did you know that Breast Cancer Awareness Month started on Thursday 1st October and ends on Saturday 31st this month? Mater Misericordia Hospital and the Sisters of Mercy have organized a free breast and cervical cancer screening on 18th October 2020 at the Well Karen first floor starting from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. For more information, contact us on 0722 318 149 or visit our website www.materkenya.com. Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Mater Misericordia Hospital cares.
Ekaristi. Sakramenti ya Ekaristi ni sakramenti ya mwili na damu ya Yesu Kristo aliye kweli katika maumbo ya mkate na divai.
Kupata Ekaristi takatifu kama skiza tuni yako, tuma neno skiza likifuatwa na nambari 738100271 kwa 811.
Our masses will start from 6 o'clock in the evening, East African time.
Capuchin TV, a Catholic broadcasting ministry. Tunafuraha kukujulisha kwamba misa takatifu ya kila siku ni kama ifuatavyo: saa 1 kamili asubuhi, saa 7:30 mchana, saa 12 jioni na saa 2:30 usiku.
Go forth, the mass is ended.
Thanks be to God.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, tunakuenzi na kukudhamini.
Endelea kutazama Capuchin TV.
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days and seek immediate medical attention or report to the nearest health center. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners. For accurate information on COVID-19, dial *719# or call 719. Follow us on Twitter at MOH_Kenya, at spokesperson GOK, at WHO.
Discussion on Around the Table show. We are discussing missionary apostolates in Kenya, and on panel today we have Sister Joan Mukhwana and we have Reverend Father Teddy Njaya. Now, before we went for a break, we were talking about the lay missionaries and then the religious missionaries. Now, for religious missionaries, you have superiors who post you in different places to go and do the missions. What happens to the lay missionaries?
Yes, we also have what we call the Catholic lay missionaries. These could be single or married men and women who are able also to move out of their, I could say, their environment, comfort zone, and be able to offer their missionary service to another part that is needy. For instance, we have, when I was working in Lodwar, there was a lady who was sent to work as a volunteer in one of the schools in Lodwar. So she's a profession as a teacher. And therefore, she came and then she had to offer her professionalism to serve the people there in Lodwar. Therefore, the Catholic lay missionaries is also a body that can actually help in the work of evangelization. Is a lay movement, yes, but also for the purposes of evangelization, they can be able to send them out, to move out of their comfort zone. If I am a doctor, if I am a nurse, if I am a teacher, I can move from my comfort zone and be able also to offer these professional services to the other parts, to the other marginalized parts of the country.
Sister, tell us about lay associates.
Yeah, most congregations share their charism with the lay these days. Mm-hmm. We have lay associates, we have friends of congregations. They are lay members of different congregations. In my own congregation, School Sisters of Notre, we have associates, and they share the charism of the congregation. The lay Carmelites too, they have a lay Carmelites and Dominicans and other congregations. So that's another way that the lay people can participate in the mission of Christ, just through becoming associates in different congregations, sharing the charism. And for sure, the charism is the gift of God to the congregation, and so they can participate in that way too. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, we have heard His Holiness Pope Francis referring and re-emphasizing the phrase, "Go forth from your comfort zones to the crossroads of life and touch people's lives, people's miseries and wounds." How can we conceptualize that as Christian faithfuls?
Yeah, this phrase of Pope Francis, actually, it is there in the document Evangelii Gaudium, yeah, to go forth, to move out from our comfort zones. And in this case, you can see that from the statement, actually, the Pope is understanding the church as not as a pyramid, but as an inverted pyramid, whereby we have now at the service of the people, especially those who are poor, those who are marginalized. So we understand now the church as inverted pyramid. And therefore, in this case, it is the church that goes to the street, yeah, to proclaim the gospel, to smell the sheep, or the shepherd has to smell the sheep. Mm-hmm. Yes, so this is the church that actually the Pope Francis is calling us, not to stay in our comfort zones, but to go in the streets, mm-hmm, yeah, and then to proclaim the word of God.
Sister, how can we fulfill this task? Because it's just like a challenge posed to the Christian faithfuls by His Holiness the Pope. How can we fulfill this task as a church in Kenya?
I think we're invited not so much to wait for the Christians to come to us, but to go out there and experience what our Christian faithful are. As the Father said, to look at what are the needs today, because each day, each time, the needs are changing. We can go to the streets, maybe there are new needs. We send, instead of waiting for missionaries to come to us, it's now our turn to send our sons and our daughters to go out to places where there are no priests, or places where there are no missionaries, or places where they can give a hand. And so we are being called to move out of our comfort zone. Maybe we have been too comfortable in the church, and we are one happy church, but we are being called to now move out. It's a sign that we are now mature. We are a mature church, and we need to move out.
Yes,
Father?
I think the understanding also is that if people don't come to the church and then let the church go to the people, so it means the aspect of going out. And therefore, the Pope is very much concerned in this case when he speaks of the misery, the wounds, the marginalized. This is essentially the option for the poor and those who are suffering. And therefore, it is our concern, especially as missionaries, how can we be able to reach in the peripheries of the country, of the world. And therefore, I see that in this case, as missionaries, especially in Kenya, how can we implement this aspect of going forth, moving out from our comfort zones? I will say that we have been called, especially we can say within the geography of Nairobi, where do we have the majority of the population? It is mainly in informal settlements. So it is now to go to this is what we call now the misery, the wounds, the suffering humanity, the poor. So to go to the peripheries or to go to the informal settlements, let us say in Nairobi. So this is where our missionary vocation is. And then we can also say that if we can also send the missionaries to go, let us say, to move out of the comfort zone, let us say within the environment we are living in, and then we are able to send them to work in other parts of Kenya. As I mentioned before, we have the priest maybe from Meru, but working in Malindi. We have the Fidei Donum from Nakuru, and the priest is working in Lodwar. Also we have in Eldoret, but working in Lodwar, Kalobeyei, Kakuma, and these other places. So this aspect of going to the bottom of the suffering humanity and the marginalized, this is what I think the understanding of Pope Francis is.
Thank you very much for that. All right, now this year's theme is Here I Am, Send Me. How important is this message to us in as far as readiness and availability to go to mission and to actually commit fully to that mission?
Yes, this phrase, here I am, send me, it is actually the response, as we can see, of Prophet Isaiah. Whom can I send? Here I am, send me. So it is actually the response that the prophet is giving out of the calling he's receiving from God. And therefore in this I can see that vocation is linked to mission. So as I am called, I'll be missioned. So there is no calling without a mission. And remember last year when we were celebrating this extraordinary year or month of the mission, baptized and sent. Yes, so when you have been baptized, you have also been sent. When you have a vocation, you have also been missioned. So the two aspects go together. And therefore, as I can say, here I am, send me, Lord, it is actually a response to the missionary vocation. So to be able to move and proclaim the word of God, as I mentioned before, that mission is not chosen, but it is given. So I am being sent where the need is. I don't choose myself that I want to work in a particular place. No. And that's why I think in the religious congregations we have the vows. We have the religious vows. Usually there are 3, other congregations they take 4. Yes, and I remember we were discussing one day, instead 3 vows were too many, so they wanted to say, let us have 2 or 3. But this aspect of obedience is important as far as the calling is concerned.
Sister, one time you said, here I am, send me.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
That means that I am ready and available. I think by the very vows we take as religious and the commitment as religious women and men, we avail ourselves, we make ourselves available for the mission. Always ready to be sent, not attached to anything, not even your country, your family, or your friends. So you are light enough so that when the call comes, we need somebody in Afghanistan, you can say, I am willing and ready. Most of us use that when you are called and you say, I am willing and ready to go. And you don't look back. You carry your light. Missionaries usually just travel light.
Regardless of the situation. However hard it gets or tough, you just move on.
And you count on the prayers, prayers of those who are remaining behind. And also you take the superior's voice as being the Holy Spirit has inspired this call. So you just move and know that God is the one who has called you to go to that mission. So I think the Pope is calling us to be ready always, to be sent and be available so that we continue the mission of Christ. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sister. Now, the Catholic Church will be celebrating the World Mission Sunday on the 18th of this month. Now, how best can we commemorate this? What can we do differently in as far as the missionary life is concerned?
Yeah, we are celebrating this on 18th, the World Mission Sunday, with the theme, Here I Am, Send Me. And also we are living in extraordinary times in the midst of this pandemic of the coronavirus. Yes. And even the message of the Pope is also considering this, the message itself about this, the pandemic. But in the midst of all this, we have been sent. Now, looking at the reality, how it is with the effects of this pandemic, the coronavirus, people have lost their jobs. Some have gone for unpaid leave. Some have gone for the pay cuts. Yeah, so we'll find that it is challenging. And this is the reality that we have been sent to. So to celebrate this World Mission Sunday, to me it implies to reach also these people, yeah? Because the suffering means it is increasing, yeah? Due to the aspect of pandemic. So how we can celebrate it also differently is through the act of solidarity. How can I reach the person who is more in need in the midst of this pandemic, because people have not gotten jobs, pay cuts, and so forth. And I'll also mention this for this year, but apart from this year, even last year, as I keep on going back to it, of Baptized and Sent, the extraordinary month. So I see it was they are baptized and sent. As we can see it, it was we did something also extraordinary. Yeah, I remember in the deanery where I belong to, the Eastern Deanery, we have the children, the PMC children. They made the contribution so that they can drill the borehole in Turkana, a place called Katilu. So they went in the 9 parishes, made the contribution so that they can drill a borehole, because working in Turkana, water is essential. So I felt that it was something which was extraordinary, done by the children to respond to a specific need in Turkana. And also this one, concerning the theme, we can celebrate it differently this time, especially putting in mind the suffering humanity due to the effects of coronavirus pandemic.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Sister, what do you think can be done in order to best celebrate and commemorate this big day?
I already know that this year especially we are reciting the Rosary as our prayer to accompany. So Mary, our mother, is accompanying us in this month of and always, not only this month. She accompanies us. So at least we can also increase our devotion to Mary and ask that she intercedes for our world. We are in very extraordinary times, and with the virus, so we intensify prayer. We can intensify our prayer, and I would say that each parish would look at, as Father said, who is needy among us, at least reach out to them, and also, look at vocation. Who can we send? I think every parish can look at what is one unique thing we can do. How can we do it differently this year than the other year? Because we are in extraordinary times here.
We are heading towards the end of our discussion, but before we close the discussion, I would like to give our guests a minute or two, to give us their parting shots that are in line with our subject of discussion today, which is Missionary Apostolate in Kenya. I'll start with you, sister.
We want to thank the viewers, the Christian, you viewer, and all the Christians for the great support you give to the mission work. Without your prayers and contribution, the gospel will not reach many places. We thank Capuchin TV for their great contribution in mission work. It's really a great job. When we get down to the villages, we hear those who have learned how even to recite the rosary. They pray with you, and the old and the aged who are not able to go to church, they have access to Mass, and that is great missionary work. So we would like to ask you to continue the great work and pray that the Lord will keep you and bless you with more graces to continue the good work.
Thank you, Father.
Yes, I would like to thank the viewer and also the Capuchin TV, because you are carrying out evangelization through communication. So it's also the missionary aspect that you are carrying out.
Oh, wow.
And I would like to thank you very much, especially during the time of lockdown. You are able to air the masses, and therefore the Christians were able to participate fully in the Eucharistic celebration to follow up. So I would like to thank the Capuchin TV very much for your collaboration in supporting the evangelization work through communication that you have. And two, I'd like to thank also the Christians. I've moved to different dioceses, to different parishes, more than 80 for the last 2-3 years that I've been in the Mission Animation Office. And I've been touched by the generosity of the Christians, that they were able to give out of their poverty. They were ready to give. And in this case, I remember that the bishop in Lodwar was, when he came up with the idea of a church that is self-reliant in Lodwar, and then people were shocked, saying, how can Lodwar move towards self-reliance? But I see that Lodwar is not only a receiving church, but also a sending church. So as we send, we also receive. So in this case, I would like to thank really the Christians for their generosity and the support, and also to thank the priests and the bishops that I visited last year to do the mission animation work, and consequently the mission appeals to support the Kenyan missionaries who are working in different parts of the world. And therefore, for our lay Christians, I would like to emphasize that continue to pray, and also you continue to support, live the missionary spirit where you are, at home, in the church, and whichever group that you participate in.
Thank you very much. All right, we've come towards we have come to the end of our discussion today, and keep your comments and your questions coming and streaming on our social media handles on Facebook, Capuchin Television Network, on YouTube and Twitter, Capuchin TV. And we will be sampling them during the second part of this particular discussion on missionary apostolates in Kenya. I have been your host, Sasha Elizabeth. See you next time. Good night.
From KCCB, Pontifical Mission Societies, join Capuchin TV on Saturday at 7 p.m. as we deliberate on Missionary Apostolate in Kenya. Here I am, send me. From Capuchin TV, we wish you a happy Mission Sunday.